Minority Whip.
Are we in a quorum call?
We are.
Ask unanimous consent to be suspended.
Without objection.
Mr. President, it's been my honor and one of the highlights of my Senate career to watch the restoration of democracy in the Baltic states of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. I've said on the floor many times with real pride, my mother was born in Lithuania, and she was an immigrant to this country at the age of 2. She never made it back to her home country where she was born, but I did, even to the town where she was baptized and raised before she came to the United States. It's been quite a journey. In 1978 or 79, I visited what was then the Soviet Socialist Republic of Lithuania. And I'm still struck by the images which were so common there, the gray Soviet approach to things, both physical and otherwise, and the belief that these poor people were under the subjugation of Moscow at a time when they deserved independence. And then to have served in the House of Representatives and again in the Senate and watch the evolution of Lithuania as well as Latvia and Estonia as democratic countries. Then the amazing development where they became part of NATO and part of the European Union and became Western viewing nations and equal partners with other countries in Europe when it came to security and democracy. It's remarkable. And yet I'm not naive. I know these are small countries and they would be easily overwhelmed by Russia if that were their Russian ambition. So I've tried over the years to maintain the strong relationship between the Baltic states and NATO and also the strong relationship with the United States and these 3 Baltic nations. One of the things that I've worked on for a number of years is known as the Baltic Security Initiative. It's an investment by the United States of several $1 million in the training of troops in the Baltic states so that they're prepared if they're brought into any conflict. It's a modest investment. They have shown their good faith on their side by maintaining strong support for NATO and contributions to it. But the Baltic Security Initiative is an incentive for them to continue along those lines. As I said, I'm not naive about this situation. Being part of NATO means that our alliance will stand by them if they are ever invaded by another country. I hope that never happens, but if it does, it means that NATO is there. They cannot go it alone, but they certainly have shown they're prepared to do their part to demonstrate their commitment to democracy and the values the United States shares. We are now considering the National Defense Authorization Bill. It's an important piece of legislation which we every year take seriously and pass, and I hope we do this time as well. I have offered amendments that would strengthen our alliances and my bipartisan amendment to authorize the Baltic Security Initiative. Since I created the program by including it in the fiscal year 21 appropriation bill, this initiative has provided millions of dollars in dedicated security assistance to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. These important NATO allies are on the front lines against Russian aggression. They have a long history of experiencing Russian tyranny, and I firmly believe they've also been targets of Putin if they were not members of NATO. There are some of the top NATO members in terms of military expenditure as a percentage of GDP, something President Trump has rightfully urged. I have visited bases in Lithuania where American and other NATO allies are working closely to deter Russian aggression. Yet, despite the clear success of this program, we recently learned the Trump administration announced last week that it intends to suspend the European security programs, including the Baltic Security Initiative. That would be music to the ears of Vladimir Putin, and it sends a dangerous signal as Putin continues to attack Ukraine, and despite assurances from President Trump that he wanted to end the war in Ukraine on his first day in office. As I mentioned, I am the son of a Lithuanian immigrant. My mother's family knew she could depend on the United States and all it stood for when they gave up their home in Lithuania and came to this country. We should not allow the president to unilaterally threaten our alliance that has been carefully threaded over decades and decades. I am grateful to the senior senator from Iowa, Senator Grassley, for joining me on the amendment which I'm going to offer on the Baltic Security Initiative. I urge my colleagues to join us. I'm reaching out to colleagues on both sides of the aisle and asking them to stand with me for the Baltics, to make it clear to Putin this is not going to be easy picking for him in the future. They are part of the NATO alliance and a worthy part as well. We should continue our support, and I hope the Baltic Security Initiative is an indication of that. I urge colleagues on both sides of the aisle to join us in this bipartisan effort to support the Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. I yield the floor.